Imagine waking up and discovering that everything you once accepted as fact was merely a convenient story crafted to keep you compliant, diverted, and easily managed. Consider this. In a world awash with information, how has humanity become more misinformed, impulsive, and less capable of critical thought than ever before? How have we, with all our technological prowess, fostered a generation struggling with independent reasoning? This video will unveil a most unsettling truth of our time, how we nurtured a less discerning generation. Not due to a lack of intellect, but because the very systems shaping minds have been deliberately designed to hinder autonomous thought. We will investigate how schooling, media, technology, and culture itself have played a part in the quiet decline of human rationality. And the final insight, the most crucial of all, will fundamentally alter your perspective on the world and your place within it. Before we delve deeper, if you believe knowledge should liberate, not constrain, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it. This supports the dissemination of ideas that awaken minds in a world striving to lull them into slumber. I assure you, what you're about to uncover might forever reshape how you view society, the future, and even yourself. So, let's journey back to the beginning. The subtle emergence of collective ignorance masked as advancement. For centuries, the human mind was revered as sacred ground, a realm of boundless possibility. Philosophers such as Socrates and Kant maintained that education's purpose wasn't to merely fill the mind with facts, but to teach people how to think. Yet, somewhere along the way, this objective was supplanted. We ceased teaching individuals how to think and began teaching them what to think. The modern educational framework, once an emblem of enlightenment, gradually morphed into a factory of uniformity. Its aim shifted from intellectual awakening to producing obedient citizens who adhere to rules without questioning their origin. The structure of most contemporary schools was inspired by the Industrial Revolution, designed not to cultivate creativity, but to forge efficient laborers. Children were instructed to memorize, reiterate, and conform. And across successive generations, this system molded minds that dreaded mistakes more than they valued truth. The French philosopher Michel Foucault once posited that every power structure crafts its own realities. Education, in this context, became one of the most potent instruments of control, influencing not merely what people knew, but how they perceived reality itself. Rather than fostering curiosity, we started to suppress it. Instead of celebrating individuality, we promoted conformity. The outcome? A generation proficient at passing exams, but disoriented when asked to think autonomously. Have you ever noticed the discomfort people exhibit when confronted with profound questions? Queries that demand contemplation rather than hasty answers. Why do so many prefer endless scrolling on their phones over engaging in meaningful reflection? This isn't sloth, it's conditioning. We've been trained to crave ease over profundity, entertainment over enlightenment, and sound over silence. Because silence, true introspective silence, is perilous. It compels you to confront yourself. Psychologist Carl Jung cautioned that individuals unable to think independently become susceptible to the collective unconscious, the mass mentality that moves like a flock, believing, consuming, and reacting in unison. This is precisely what we observe today. Social media, once lauded as a triumph of global communication, has become a psychological snare. Algorithms favor indignation, emotion, and superficiality, while penalizing subtlety, patience, and reflection. The more extreme the viewpoint, the more attention it garners. The simpler the idea, the more rapidly it spreads. This is how intelligence is supplanted by imitation and depth by dopamine. And herein lies one of the most paradoxical realities of our era. We are inundated with information, yet starved for wisdom. We possess access to more knowledge than any preceding generation. Still, we have never been so perplexed, fragmented, and intellectually fragile. We confuse data for comprehension and opinions for truth. In this digital chaos, critical thinking is no longer a mere skill, it's an act of defiance. Let me pose a question. When was the last time you genuinely thought for yourself? Not merely repeated something you read, not shared a post that resonated, but truly scrutinized the bedrock of your own convictions. If this question causes discomfort, you are not alone. That unease is the initial indication that you are awakening from the mental stupor of modern culture. The reality is, a decline in critical thinking today is not an accident. It is a manufactured outcome. It is profitable. A populace lacking critical thinking is simpler to manage, amuse, and influence. Governments, corporations, and media outlets all gain from a society that conflates wisdom with mere data and genuine liberty with superficial distractions. Nonetheless, there is hope to be found. A lack of intellectual rigor can be overcome. Once the human intellect recognizes its inherent power, it becomes resistant to renewed subjugation. The real question is whether you are prepared to reclaim it. In the subsequent segment, we will uncover how the digital age not only accelerated this decline in cognitive ability, but also transformed it into a weapon. What you are about to learn will illuminate why your engagement is the world's most valuable asset, and the intense efforts undertaken to secure it. The American author Aldous Huxley once cautioned that the ultimate form of dictatorship would masquerade as democracy, functioning as a prison without physical walls, where the inmates wouldn't even conceive of escape. It's unsettling how prescient these observations seem today, for the invisible confinement he depicted isn't constructed from bars or wardens. Instead, it is formed from screens, notifications, and algorithms meticulously crafted to firmly grasp our attention and keep our minds dormant. Consider this. Humanity has never before possessed such instantaneous access to the entirety of global knowledge. Yet, rather than leading to enlightenment, we have entered an epoch defined by incessant diversion. The issue isn't a deficit of information. It's an overwhelming abundance, delivered in such fragmented, fleeting bursts that we lack the necessary time for contemplation between one stimulus and the next. The consequence? We have transitioned from being creators of thought to mere consumers of it. Each scroll, every click, every like contributes to a vast psychological experiment, one to which most individuals never consciously consented. Technology firms, driven by artificial intelligence and insights from behavioral psychology, have mastered how to exploit the profound vulnerabilities of the human psyche. Dopamine, the brain's natural reward chemical, now serves as the currency of the online realm. With each notification or positive reaction received, your brain delivers a small burst of gratification, reinforcing the behavior and fostering a desire for more. Over time, this repetitive pattern erodes patience, concentration, and thoughtful consideration. Engaging in deep thought becomes arduous. Mindlessly scrolling becomes an addiction. The philosopher Herbert Marcuse termed this occurrence quote, _0__. From his perspective, advanced societies do not oppress their citizens through fear, but rather through an abundance of comfort, offering boundless entertainment, convenience, and the illusion of liberty until they lose the desire to challenge the prevailing system. We are living precisely in such a world, a digital utopia built upon unseen shackles. Observe your surroundings. We are perpetually connected, yet often profoundly isolated. Inundated with data, yet starving for genuine meaning. We erroneously equate exposure with deep understanding, and as the digital clamor intensifies, silence, wherein thought originates, has become something we dread. How often do you simply sit in quietude without automatically reaching for your device? For how long can you remain alone with your thoughts before an urge to escape them arises? The human brain was not designed to process the deluge of information it encounters today. Neuroscientists have demonstrated that continuous digital stimulation reshapes neural pathways, thereby diminishing our capacity for profound concentration and long-term recall. We are conditioning our minds for instantaneity, brief spans of attention, immediate gratification, spontaneous emotional reactions, at the expense of intellectual depth and self-reflection. The contemporary mind is swift but superficial. It is proficient at locating data but struggles to extract profound meaning. And this isn't merely an unintended consequence of progress, it is an intentional design. A population that is perpetually distracted is a compliant one. When individuals are kept busy, entertained, and emotionally reactive, they cease to pose inconvenient questions. They stop noticing the events unfolding around them. Political manipulation becomes significantly easier when the collective consciousness is too preoccupied chasing ephemeral trends to reflect upon fundamental truths. The philosopher Noam Chomsky characterized this process as manufacturing consent. Its essence is not censorship, but rather diversion. There's no need to silence people when their thoughts can be drowned out by incessant noise. The truth is buried beneath a torrent of trivialities, manufactured outrage, and never-ending content. And while individuals engage in disputes over minor online issues, pivotal decisions, those truly shaping their future, are often made discreetly in the background. Now, here's a crucial point most people overlook. Social media does not present the world as it genuinely is. It portrays a tailored version of the world, specifically crafted to cater to your emotions, anxieties, and desires. Every feed acts as a reflection of the self, rather than an authentic window into reality. The more intense your emotional response, the more valuable your attention becomes. Outrage sells, fear sells, division sells. And as we continually feed the algorithms with our interactions, they, in turn, feed us illusions that reinforce our existing biases until contemplating alternative perspectives feels almost impossible. We have constructed echo chambers so impeccable that many no longer encounter differing viewpoints. This erodes the fundamental ability to disagree, engage in debate, and reason. The bedrock of a healthy civilization is disintegrating. We've stopped pursuing truth and instead chase affirmation. This quest for validation slowly suffocates genuine thought. Let's be frank. How many of your viewpoints are authentically yours? To what extent have your convictions been shaped by continuous exposure, algorithmic influence, or the fluctuating currents of societal approval? The true challenge in today's world isn't intellectual prowess, it's cultivating self-reliance. Carl Rogers, a pioneer in humanistic psychology, remarked that an educated individual is one who has mastered the art of continuous learning and adaptation. Yet evolution demands courage. It necessitates acknowledging that the knowledge underpinning your identity might be incomplete or even erroneous. Most individuals prefer the comfort of ignorance to the discomfort of profound change. This is why critical thinking has become revolutionary. In an era driven by haste, pauses are an act of defiance. In a system that rewards conformity, questioning is heresy. And in a society consumed by appearances, authenticity poses a threat. The real peril isn't artificial intelligence, but artificial thought. Minds that mimic without innovating, individuals who repeat without reflecting. The more we delegate our discernment to machines, influencers, and popular trends, the less we comprehend our own essence. However, there's a paradox embedded in this crisis, an extraordinary chance. Never before has awareness wielded such power. The moment you discern how your attention is being manipulated, you begin to reclaim it. Awareness is resistance. Reflection is liberation. In the next section, we'll delve further, moving beyond the digital snare to examine how culture, entertainment, and even language itself have subtly molded our cognitive processes and perception of reality. What you uncover might compel you to scrutinize not just society, but the very architecture of your own mind. George Orwell famously observed that if thought can corrupt language, language can, in turn, corrupt thought. Few aphorisms resonate more profoundly today. The deterioration of critical thinking didn't solely stem from technology or education. It evolved through the gradual erosion of language itself and the narratives we construct about what it means to live, achieve success, and be human. Consider the terminology prevalent in our contemporary culture: viral, trending, influencer, content. Words once laden with meaning have become hollow vessels, sculpted by marketing strategies and algorithms. We no longer converse, we perform. We don't express ourselves, we broadcast. And as language superficializes, so too does thought. When individuals lose the capacity to articulate complexity, they simultaneously lose the capacity to grasp it. The philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein asserted, quote, "When language contracts, the world shrinks. We start thinking in catchphrases, not sentences, in gut reactions, not considered reflections." Within this confined mental space, manipulation flourishes. Culture has played its part in this quiet regression. The modern ideal of success has supplanted wisdom with visibility. We no longer ponder, quote 3, but rather, quote 4. This preoccupation with external validation, followers, likes, recognition, has sidelined internal growth in favor of digital affirmation. The self is no longer a mystery to be explored. It's a commodity to be marketed. Psychologist Erich Fromm foresaw this decades ago. He described the quote 5 an individual who treats themselves as an item for sale, continually adjusting their persona to align with others' expectations. In such a society, he wrote, people lose touch with their authentic selves. They cease to ask what is righteous, instead asking what is lucrative. They don't pursue truth, they pursue relevance. This pervasive transformation has infiltrated every facet of modern existence. Art, once a reflection of the soul, has morphed into a contest for attention. Music, once a medium for emotion, is now a formula for widespread dissemination. Even our dialogues have been reduced to sanitized, predictable, and instantly forgettable fragments. We are saturated with expression, yet starved for substance. And the media, once the custodian of truth, now plays a pivotal role in fabricating ignorance. Instead of informing, it acts. Instead of investigating, it entertains. Complexity doesn't generate revenue. Outrage does. Truth is no longer gauged by evidence, but by engagement. What holds importance is not veracity, but what is trending. The outcome is a culture where everyone possesses a voice, but few have anything meaningful to articulate. This intellectual void is not coincidental. It's the ideal environment for control. Because when people cease deep contemplation, they begin to feel without reason. Emotion supersedes intellect, and whoever governs emotion controls perception. The ancient Roman poet Juvenal understood this when he stated that the masses could be appeased with quote 6 __. Today, the bread is comfort, and the circus is incessant stimulation. Ask yourself, when did you last experience genuine boredom? Our eradication of boredom has, in turn, extinguished imagination. Boredom was once the cradle of ingenuity, compelling the mind to wander, envision, and forge connections. Now, as soon as quiet descends, we retreat into the glow of a screen. We've swapped quiet contemplation for ceaseless noise, thereby losing the very essence of profound thought. Albert Einstein famously remarked that the monotony and quietude of a simple life stimulate the creative intellect. Yet who today dares to embrace such a life? Who has the courage to disconnect long enough to truly hear their inner voice? We laud busyness as a measure of our worth, though paradoxically, the more occupied we are, the more bereft we feel. We've confused sheer activity for genuine progress and visibility for actual value. This is how the engine of intellectual stagnation persists, not through overt oppression, but through subtle enticement. People aren't compelled to cease thinking, rather, they are lured into it. We are offered boundless diversions masked as liberation, mistaking mere commotion for vitality. The philosopher Byung-Chul Han characterizes our epoch as the quote 7 where individuals, in the pursuit of productivity, exploit themselves, believing they are free even as they silently burn out. Nevertheless, amidst this tumult, something sacred endures: humanity's untapped potential for awakening. The mere fact that you are engaging with this content suggests an intrinsic awareness within you, a subtle unease, a pervasive feeling that something vital is absent from contemporary existence. This sensation isn't a flaw. It signifies your conscious awareness striving to emerge. Genuine intellect isn't about accumulating more knowledge. It's about perceiving with greater depth. It involves scrutinizing the narratives we've inherited and daring to look beyond them. The Stoic Epictetus declared, quote, "When you reclaim your capacity for thought, you reclaim your freedom to genuinely live." So, what does it mean to engage in thought in a world that discourages it? It means decelerating when everything else accelerates. It means listening attentively when others clamor. It means embracing the possibility of error to discern what is correct. Thinking isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's an act of bravery. It demands openness, inquisitiveness, and humility. Perhaps this is precisely what society fears most: individuals who think because they defy easy manipulation. A discerning mind is unpredictable, innovative, and disruptive to systems built on uniformity. It challenges everything: authority, media, culture, and even its own assumptions. This is why power structures, whether intentionally or not, invest considerable effort in keeping people preoccupied. Yet a paradigm shift is underway. Globally, an increasing number of individuals are emerging from the trance of convenience. They are rediscovering the pleasure of reading, introspection, quietude, and a profound understanding of truth. They are remembering that true knowledge isn't merely data, it's transformative. The revolution of the 21st century won't be political or technological. It will be psychological, originating in the mind. In the subsequent segment, we will delve into the core of this quest, the most profound revelation of all. We'll explore strategies to reclaim the neglected art of thinking and reconstruct the foundations of wisdom in a world that profits from confusion. For the future will not belong to the most connected, but to the most conscious. As André Malraux aptly put it, man is not what he thinks he is what he hides. If we genuinely seek to comprehend how we fostered a generation disinclined to think, we must confront the most unsettling reality. We have willingly contributed to our own intellectual erosion. No one compelled us to relinquish our capacity for deliberation. We surrendered it incrementally, in exchange for comfort, affirmation, and diversion. The profound tragedy of modern civilization lies not in people being deceived, but in their diminishing concern for discovering the truth. The true adversary of thought has never been ignorance, it is apathy. When individuals cease to value truth, the mind begins its decline. This deterioration isn't sudden. It commences with minor compromises, overlooking what feels wrong, embracing convenience, echoing popular sentiment. Gradually, the flame of curiosity wanes, and we forget that thinking is not a luxury, but an imperative. However, here lies the insight that reshapes everything. Intellectual stagnation isn't the absence of intelligence. It's the deliberate rejection of conscious awareness. It's a choice, not always intentional, but deeply ingrained. Each instance we prioritize comfort over curiosity, distraction over introspection, conformity over authenticity. We participate in the silent demise of our own cognitive faculties. We are not inherently incapable of thought. We are conditioned to forget how. To reverse this, we must unlearn more than we learn. The path toward genuine intelligence commences with awareness, the bravery to see through deception. Awareness isn't always comfortable. It demands confrontation. It compels you to scrutinize your own beliefs, your culture, your routines, and even your self-perception. But it is precisely here that freedom takes root. You cannot awaken from a dream until you recognize that you are dreaming. How then do we regain our capacity for thoughtful deliberation in a world designed to keep us intellectually dormant? The journey commences with a revolutionary act: silence. In contemporary society, silence stands as an act of defiance. Through its embrace, we detach from omnipresent clamor and reconnect with our essential selves. We start to discern the subtle operations of our minds, the ingrained patterns, and the unchallenged assumptions we hold. Sustained periods of quiet introspection inevitably lead to a profound self-encounter, not with a persona or an outward projection, but with the innate consciousness underlying it all. Following this, curiosity blossoms, serving as the very engine of profound intellects. True curiosity isn't about accumulating facts, it's about engaging with enigmas. It embodies the childlike wonder that conventional education often stifles. Every philosopher, scientist, and artist who has ever reshaped human understanding started by posing simple questions that others shied away from. When this innate curiosity reawakens, learning transforms into a joyous pursuit, and genuine thought becomes second nature. Next comes solitude. In a world consumed by constant connectivity, solitude acts as the crucible for innovative thought. Every profound idea, from those of Plato to Nietzsche, or from Buddha to Jung, emerged from moments of isolation. Solitude grants the mind space to process, integrate, and originate ideas. Without it, depth is unattainable. Without depth, wisdom remains elusive. Finally, courage emerges, the courage to maintain an independent stance in your thinking. Autonomous thought is frequently met with derision rather than commendation today. Yet recall the words of the Greek philosopher Diogenes. Quote, 10. Authentic thinkers aren't rebellious for the sake of it, they are rebels for the sake of truth. They refuse to delegate their judgment to the collective, and in doing so, they remind others of their own latent power. Once silence, curiosity, solitude, and courage are reclaimed, a remarkable transformation unfolds. Mental clarity improves. The haze of distraction dissipates. The mechanics of manipulation become visible. You begin to peer beyond superficial appearances, beyond propaganda, beyond fleeting trends. You start perceiving reality not as it's presented, but as it genuinely exists. And that, more than anything else, is what the world truly fears. A mind that has awakened cannot be subjugated. Imagine for a moment a generation that prioritizes awareness over indifference. Picture classrooms where children are encouraged to question rather than merely memorize, where creativity is celebrated over conformity. Conceive of a society that values wisdom above material wealth, character above superficial image, and depth above mere speed. Such a world isn't a figment of imagination. It's a potentiality awaiting realization by those prepared to think anew. The eminent psychologist Viktor Frankl, who endured the horrors of the Holocaust, observed that, quote, 11, within that space resides our capacity to choose our reaction. Our growth and our liberty are forged in that chosen response. That space, that sacred interlude, is where genuine thought resides. To think means to cultivate this space between impulsive reaction and true comprehension. It is within this very space that consciousness is born. The upcoming revolution will not commence in the streets, but within the mind of every individual, audacious enough to reclaim that sacred space. An awakened mind becomes the Earth's most potent force, because when a sufficient number of people begin to think, truly think, illusions crumble, systems transform, and humanity advances. So, perhaps the more pertinent question isn't how we fostered an intellectually stagnant generation, but whether we will choose to remain one. For the instant we commit to questioning, to introspection, to seeking truth over comfort, the enchantment breaks. The apparatus of distraction loses its hold. The world begins to change, not because we actively fight against it, but because we transcend it. Indeed, the future will not belong to those who possess the most information, but to those who grasp the most profound understanding. To those who can pause before reacting, who can discern before judging, who can think before accepting. Intelligence, in its most authentic form, is consciousness put into action, and this is something no algorithm can replicate. Therefore, think. Think even when it causes discomfort. Think even when society urges you not to. Because thinking is not merely our means of understanding the world, it is our pathway to reclaiming our humanity. The mind, after all, is the sole domain where true freedom can originate. And perhaps, just perhaps, if enough of us relearn to think, future generations will view ours not as the thoughtless one, but as the one that finally woke up. Thank you for your attention.